Welcome to Creative Pages with Catherine. I'm Catherine, and you found me on the Hello Fall playlist. I know it feels a little bit early for fall, but it's going to be fun. This playlist is hosted by the Rusted Willow, DIY from House to Home, and our special guest host, Lady Red Crafting. Okay, so this one is going to be a bit of a compilation video for me showing off some of my favorite layouts using our Autumn Harvest collection that came out in 2023. Our 2024 collection should be out in the next month or so, so keep an eye on my community tab for that. But first, let's get into these wonderful fall-inspired scrapbook layouts, and there's a fun card towards the end as well. Sketch number 1. I went ahead and I started to put it together a little bit just because it is a little bit fussy with some of these scraps are kind of small. So here you can see this is the frame that I had left over from sketch number 12 from September 2023's C's Please layout I put together. And then along the sides here, I have a strip of vellum that I've layered that was also a scrap from my Autumn Harvest sketch with me. And this is the other piece that came out from the frame during that sketch that we did, sketch number 12 with the C's Please, and I just thought it looked really pretty with the leaves framing it out around it. A little bit of vellum on the bumps here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'm just piecing this back together a bit across the bottom. I did the other ones earlier today because, let me tell you, it was a bit fussy. This might be a little fussy too, but I'm just lining it up kind of as best I can along the edge of the page and getting it kind of closely lined up. We're going to center it. Okay, maybe I am getting a hang of the scrapbooking stuff after all. Who knew? I have also pulled out several of our mats from our mat pad. Here we go. So we're going to layer that. I'm going to line this up more with the bottom edge of our interior mat. Now, time for the stickers and embellishments, and I am sorry, but the embellishment pack did sell out. Let me start sticking things down, and I've got my Falling into Autumn coming up. I have my foam squares ready. I don't know if you all have tried the new foam squares. I did do a short, a YouTube short that shows the difference between the size of these foam squares and the old foam squares, I guess, if you will, the ones previously for sale. Okay, that's down, that's down. These need to go down. And I think I'm also going to leave these just straight on the page as well. I'm going to go ahead and use my repositionable tape and put them on. How's about that? I think that worked out okay. Not too shabby. It came out as a very pretty page. This collection is just gorgeous. I love the foiling on the embellishments, and you can see our little pumpkins framing out the bottom there. So what initially might have been a busy page with all those colorful leaves, we've broken up a little bit with our avocado and our vellum. Here's this, and you can see I softened it a little bit with the rounding, and we wound up adding a little bit more of a frame than a border, which is kind of what it shows going through this one. What did y'all think of that first fall leaves layout? I will be featuring the video where the scraps came from later in this video. And if you would like to see the full projects, check out the description box below and they will all be linked there. But first, let's take a look at our second layout. Here it is. This is the sketch. I went ahead and I punched 2 borders from our Home Sweet Home Border Maker cartridge, and I cut them at 1.5 inches from the top of the little houses. I am also using a sheet of our avocado cardstock that I cut in half at 6 inches, so 6 by 12. And we are using the autumn words as the base for this page. It has the apples on the back of the paper here. I am going to run this across the top of the page, and then I'm going to line it up at the top of this. I want to leave about 1/4 of an inch of the vellum showing. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and add, just because I went ahead and pulled this sheet we used earlier, and I had a wider scrap that was 12 inches by an inch, and I went ahead and cut that in half to run it along the bottom of the page here. Our avocado is kind of running along the same length of the paper. And then I've got my other 1/2 inch strip to go across the bottom of the right hand side of the page here. I'm also going to use on this left side a couple of mats. So here's that. I'm going to add the embellishments in just a moment. But first, let's get the mats onto this other side of the page. These I'm kind of almost using like pieces of ribbon would go onto a paper. And then I'm going to put my photos over them. So this is kind of going to be a taller, skinnier photo as well, but I'm going to cut it so you see part of the acorns above and part of the acorns below. So kind of a different approach to doing the mats this time. And really, you know, when they say there's no rules in scrapbooking, I love that because I do enjoy challenging myself and seeing what else I can come up with. We are going to put foam squares underneath here. This is going to be like a little leaf cluster coming down on the page, but it's going to be up so that way we don't have to worry about it when we go to put our photo onto the page. But I am going to put a little bit of repositionable tape behind this one because it's going to be a little bit of a cluster here. So there's the right side of our page all done. And here we go. And then let me grab out this left side again. How's about that? Between this one and the next one, it took me, I think, 3 hours figuring out all these sizes and instructions, but I think it turned out beautifully. I hope you all like my interpretation of the sketch. Leave me a thumbs up if you love it. I'm going to bring in this other side of the page so you can see them side by side. And there we go. Let me grab the sketch again real quick. So definitely worked with the vellum and worked with the embellishments a good bit to figure out how to get this all to work together. And I wanted to add a couple of extra photos to each page. I mean, even this one, you can use the top part of this mat to add a photo up here. We can place that smaller photo over here, a longer photo over here. This is for journaling. And then, of course, we have 4 photos on the left side of the page as well. I just love how those fall leaves combined with the acorns that were on that Autumn Harvest designer paper, didn't you? Did you also know that you can follow me at Creative Pages with Catherine, spelled exactly as it is here on YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook? I hope that you will check it out. There are links in the description box below this video. But next, we are going to check out a blue and brown inspired layout with more of those fabulous fall leaves. Let's take a look. And here we go. Whew. I've got more vellum. This collection had vellum, so we're using it, let me tell you. But first, here is the sketch. I've got a little bit more writing on here just because I am using a few more scraps up, and I will explain everything as I go along. But I did want to show you, this is the sheet of vellum that I'm working with. So first things first, I do want to get a little bit of, I'm going to scoot this over because this vellum, what I did was I grabbed my brocade chain border maker cartridge. I've gone ahead and punched it from the vellum, which is why I had the other vellum there. And I had a 2-inch by 12-inch blue scrap from another project. I think it was from maybe the virtual crop, the worldwide virtual crop. And that's going to go on the top of this other side of the page. But this one's going to go directly on this page. That way they're both going to be kind of on the blue pine needles. So now that's down, and I have a couple of other scraps I found, again, from I think just another virtual crop sketch. So this is the back side is the acorn paper. The front side is the wood tone, the darker wood tone. And this is a 1-inch by 11-inch scrap, and it's going to go on the bottom of the right side of our page. Our zero centering ruler, the zero's in the center. So I have a 1-inch here, a 1-inch here, and then there's a 1-inch that runs along this bottom edge. So I'm just centering my paper right there between those 3 1-inch lines. Because remember how I said I just want to have an inch showing from the outside of my mat. This is a 4x6 mat, so we're going to go to the 2-inch and we are going to go to the 0. So here's the 0 line, here's my 2-inch, and I think I'm lined up. How's that look? Pretty good. There we go, voila. And then you have a nice and even lined up on both sides, a little bit 1-inch part of your paper sticking out, and you didn't have to do too much measuring, fussing, flipping, trying to figure this out. I just lined up the paper on the ruler, and it helped me get the job done. And even though the sketch shows 3 photos, which, yeah, 1 photo can go here, or you can use this for journaling as well. Your other photo can go here. This would be easily fit a 4x4 photo. And then you have your 4x6 mats here, but this one is probably going to wind up being smaller as well because you're going to fit the interior of the space. And I am just going to go ahead and do this. Put a large foam square on it, and just we're going to get this one stuck down right away before we even start on our other page. So that way I don't lose it when I move this page. And here we go on our other side of the page. Let me move this one over a moment here. And then here are those 2 scraps that I found as well, the 5x3-inch. And we're just going to layer these 2 on top of each other. Let's move this one up just another hair. It actually might go up into here. So this way, this becomes a larger photo mat down here, which kind of matches what we have going on that right side of the page as well. So there we are, thankful, grateful, and blessed. And I do feel that way a lot. And I appreciate you all watching with me. I've got another quiet group, but that's okay. I'm just happy that you're here. There we go. So there is our 2-page layout. I will hold them up closer to the camera in just a moment. Here is our sketch. Here is the left side of my page up close. And then here is the right side of the page. What did y'all think of that layout? The blues and the browns turned out not too shabby, huh? If you're new to my channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button and hitting the thumbs up or leaving me a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on which project was your favorite today. I also would like to take a quick minute to thank our hosts again, The Rusted Willow, DIY from House to Home, and our guest host, Lady Red Crafting. Thank you, ladies, so much for hosting this Hello Fall playlist. And now into my final project, one more layout and a very special card to finish. Bear with me, things look a little bit messy right now, but it's all going to be clear in just a few moments. You can see I already have my decorative trimmer out. And the trimmer is, I'm using a piece of orange cardstock. That's a scrap, because I've already cut my piece on all four sides, just so that way you all don't have to sit here and watch me do all four. But I'm going to explain what I did. Show you a close-up of my decorative trimmer. You can see where I've darkened some of the lines on my trimmer to make my life a little bit easier. It's hard to see some of the markings on this trimmer in general. And the marking that I went to when I did my cutting was this one. It's between, there's a 1 here and a 2 here. And this is about 1.5, 1 3/4 or so. But it's hard to tell. And I know when I put on my one that I wrote, I used vellum, and it's about 3/4 of an inch is what I put on here. When I put my vellum in, you put it in from the left. I'm going to put this in and then I'm going to show you all. Let me see if I can get this closed. My orange, this is partially why I wanted to show you with the bright orange. So I went essentially exactly 1 grid line down. So there's these grid boxes here, and my paper is lined up just right on the line underneath this first set of grid boxes. And I'm going to use the wavier trimmer. So it's this left one here, and you just cut all the way down. And there you go. You've got your first edge cut. I went ahead and I flipped it and I did the second edge the same way. I lined it up in the same exact spot, and then I cut down again. So essentially we're cutting off just that little bit of paper to get the waves and the bumps going, because the sketch shows all kinds of waves and bumps. And, you know, I just thought it seemed like a great way to interpret the sketch, and I am complementing it with a sheet of our tangerine cardstock for the base of this layout, and a sheet of our vellum. And I picked this dark blue with the leaves in it. I am pulling out my vellum tape runner and my bone folder. This one's going to be pretty quick, easy, and simple. I'm going to foam square our sentiment here. And there we go. Here is the close-up of the final page using the Autumn Harvest collection. And this could easily be a cover page. For this card, I'm going to be using up a bunch of scraps and a mat. I had this half mat, I think from doing the Worldwide Virtual Crop sketch from Autumn Harvest. This one I had cut in half. I think I might have thought about using it as a journal box at one point, but it's going to be beautiful on this card instead. I also had a bunch of acorn paper scraps, and I just took a couple of them and cut them in half, and then adjusted them to the size of the card. Center it over the top and the bottom here. Just add the acorns. They'll be above and below our mat box. And I just thought it'd be cute to have it framed with the acorns. This mat I cut down 2.5 by 3 3/4. Because I loved the sentiment on it. You could pull out one of your stickers, but I thought the coloring just was perfect. And I also wanted to add these falling leaves from our border sticker here. Let me grab my microtip scissors. We're going to flip this over and just cut this off at the seam here. There you go, that's one side, and then I'm going to flip this over again. Well, then it would be kind of falling up, wouldn't it? Let's go ahead and just put this flat part up here. It is what it is. We can actually I'm going to do this. I'm going to fussy cut this just a little bit. So that way we don't have that straight edge to start the top of our page. Invite somebody for Thanksgiving with this card. And it's just too cute. I think I also might take this other acorn here. Oops. Maybe have it up here. The acorn is, or the, I might add a couple of them on this side and just kind of frame it out the rest of the way. I'm not going to pop it up. I'm actually going to cover up. See the other trick? It's covering up our little seam. And I'm going to show you the card up close. It's a great use of scraps. That's it for this episode. Until next time.